A lot is about to change, and that can be very scary. So let's put those fears to rest. Here is your complete survival guide to surviving early postpartum as a first-time mum. Hello, Sin and Saints, my fellow ribs and the glories of men. My name's Grace. Lovely to have you here. I am a second-time mum now, but I would love to share some of the tips and tricks that I wish I would have implemented for my first birth. Why should you listen to me? Well, I'm on my way, hopefully, to having 10 kids. So I really want to master this season of postpartum healing because that is one of the quickest ways that one is able to bounce back. So we're going to go through a few things in this video and I hope it's super helpful to you all. So 6 major things that we're going to go through: to expect, to buy, to recruit, to hire, to prep, and to battle. Yes, it's quite the list, so let's get into it. First of all, what to expect. Lots of emotions. That's a given. I would say postpartum rage is one of those big ones, especially when milk is coming in or when you first arrived home from the hospital. I remember when my husband and I did, I started panicking and freaking out that the room that we were in was too hot and that my son was going to suffocate and in his sleep. The room was 26 degrees. I was literally standing on a bed, standing on the bed, sobbing, freaking out. So expect a lot of that. Hopefully it doesn't hit you as hard, but definitely know that there's going to be a lot of emotions flowing through. Another one is stubbornness. A few weeks in, I was really struggling with breastfeeding. We weren't getting a proper attachment. So breastfeeding was piercingly painful to me, but I wanted to keep soldiering on. But it did get to a point where my son was crying. I'd only fed him just over an hour ago. My husband's looking at me distressed because he's got the look on his face where he's like, "You've got the only thing that can solve the sobbing." And I'm like, I just fed him an hour ago. He's not hungry, but I'm in excruciating pain. So sometimes you can get quite stubborn. I was like, I'm not feeding him. Take him somewhere else. It was quite the crazy experience. And snappiness is, of course, a big thing. Try and warn your support people, your partner. There's a lot of emotions that's going to be flowing in this season. Feeling cooped up is another big one as well. I would recommend that every woman gives time for her body to rest. This is pretty much universal across cultures, but unfortunately we've lost really recently in the Western world. Essentially having time and space, a confinement period as some people call it, whether that be the 555, the 777, or even 40 days to yourself, just resting with you and bub, being able to get really good attachment. And yes, sometimes family can visit in these times, sometimes not. It's totally up to you. But a confinement period where you rest is really important. However, that does bring the result of feeling a little bit cooped up ultimately. And something to counter that, I would highly recommend, is going outside. Maybe 2 times a day, at least once a day, sitting in the sun for 10 to 15 minutes, you and bub, just relaxing. Highly recommend it. Definitely worth it. And it definitely helped me a lot. My family got me this beautiful little couch that I've sometimes filmed videos in and just popped it in the sun. And I just rested and just listened to the trees and relaxed. Try not to take your phone during that time. Sensations and sensory input is very crazy in that time, especially, yes, if you're doing a confinement period as well. I remember our first trip outside the home, probably about a week in, we had transferred in an emergency to the hospital and we'd been at the hospital for 3.5-4 days, but then we finally gotten to go home, but we had to go see the doctor at about a week in. And I just remember that first trip, cars going past and all these things. And we were probably only out for half an hour, but I remember being exhausted by it for the next day and a half at least. So it is a very overwhelming, exhausting time. Definitely rest, and it's going to be a lot. Maybe wear some sunnies when you go, some noise cancelling headphones, something to just make the intake a little bit less overwhelming. To buy, look, you can buy lots of things. There's long lists. My husband and I lived in a 7x3 little cabin for a lot of my early postpartum, and we didn't have a lot of money because we were paying off debt as well. So I think one of the big things, some manuka honey for healing, like scars and stuff like that. Would recommend a peri bottle. I call them peri bottles for some reason. But a peri bottle just to help when you're going to the loo, just making everything a little bit more gentle. And on top of that, some nipple cream. Don't wait until your nipples start getting chapped. Start early, especially if you're breastfeeding. Because it gets very sensitive, very overwhelming, lots going on, lots of emotions tied to that area during this time. Okay, next, who you need to recruit. Okay, friends and family, bring them in. I know that some people are like, no, this is a time for just baby and I. And look, if the husband or if your partner has like some maternity leave or paternity leave that they're able to bank in, that's fantastic. But ultimately, they're going to get overwhelmed as well. And in order for them to best serve you, I really think it's important, if you have quality friends or family, for them to be able to swap in. Try not to be left alone during this season, especially the first 40 days. I remember the times that I was alone got very dark very quickly. So try and always have someone with you. They don't have to be in your room or in your space, but at least they can be nearby doing chores or something like that. Or if you drop something, they may be able to grab it and pick it up. What you want your friends and family to be doing? Of course, managing the house. You would be surprised with how messy the place gets once you're early postpartum. We're talking doing the dishes. Dishes stack up like crazy. We know that. Laundry gets big, especially now that you're adding a whole new little person with their specific laundry needs as well, and especially if you're doing cloth diapers, kudos to you who do that. So laundry needs stack up very quickly. You're also going to be wanting to wash the sheets if you're in bed a lot, more frequently. Sometimes I did daily, almost every second day at least. Just helps you stay and feel fresh, especially if you're lying on top of the blankets as well. Make sure that they get a wash. As well, tidying the place, cleaning a meal tray, and you know what it's like. There are different ways for family to be able to contribute instead of just turning up and being like, we want to look at the baby. It's like, well, at least do the dishes first, thanks. I think it's so rude when family don't actually contribute. It's like, we know what kind of relationship this is. Those kinds of people, they can wait a month at least. To hire, I'm going to go through 5 people who are really important. If you have any spare money at all, and even if you don't, these are people that you want in your corner. A masseuse, a chiro, an osteo, acupuncturist, pretty much someone who is experienced with bodywork and is able to help you get back in alignment. I know not all of these are equal to each other, and they're insanely different disciplines and have their own different needs and nuances, but I think it also serves as a very emotional thing for yourself, just a little bit of rest and relaxation for yourself. I know for me, I got like a gift card voucher very soon for my birthday after my little one was born, and I was like, I'm going to get a massage ASAP, and it was one of the best things for me, especially my back with breastfeeding. Amazing. But it definitely served a large emotional fulfillment as well. So that is definitely something that I will be doing again. I know this one's controversial and I would have hated myself for hearing this the first time, but some kind of therapist or counselor. And I'm a push through, let's get it done kind of person. But when I really started to break down in the depths and really dark lows of postpartum depression, that was someone who was very helpful. Processing my birth trauma, EMDR therapy I found quite helpful. But someone who is a listening ear who was outside of the people who were there at the birth. And why is that? Because a lot of the people in your birth space, praise God for them, but sometimes when birth debriefing, A, they're not skilled for it, and B, sometimes they're trying to also be aware of liability to themselves. And this is unintentional, and I'm sure the people who attended you are well-intentioned and lovely people, but especially for medical professionals like midwives, OBs, people who attended and facilitated that space, they're often also aware of the fact in the back of their mind that they need to be aware of any liability that they did, any ways that they messed up, that you could potentially be looking for them litigation-wise. And so being very careful that the people that you debrief with ideally aren't the people that were there for the birth. Now, slightly different for partners and family who are and friends who are in attendance, but just being aware of that fact in your mind that some people, while they seek to serve and help, may not be the best people to go to in that time. And that's why a counsellor, a therapist, may be especially helpful in Australia. If you're really having issues, have experienced trauma, you can go see your GP, get a mental health plan, get a referral for 10 free visits to a registered psychologist, and that can be a telehealth appointment as well, which is very helpful. And so you'll be able to have those 10 free sessions as well. Also, fantastic resources, Panda, your child health nurse, 4WHEN. 4WHEN's the major one that I use for navigating birth trauma and postpartum depression, and they were beyond fantastic, like phenomenal. All right, another professional that you need to see, a pelvic floor therapist. Please, please, please take your postpartum healing seriously. If anything, I'd say this is one of the most essential people that you need to see. They are going to make sure that you're healing, you're pretty much the muscles that hold all of your organs up are functioning well after birth. Thankfully in Australia, they are free, but they're self-referred. So you kind of have to seek them out. Definitely do that. At least getting a check is super important. Thankfully, I had some serious issues, so I got referred to a class and healing class, thankfully, which was phenomenal, a 12-week program that just had daily exercises and movements. Fantastic. It was so good. A lactation consultant. This is a classic one. I didn't personally use a lactation consultant in my first pregnancy, but I've heard about how helpful it can be. I definitely at least have someone who is qualified in this area and skilled in this area be checking in on your latch if you're breastfeeding, because I thought I was doing well, and then I made some slight adjustments, and I almost cried. I was like, oh, that's why so many women enjoy breastfeeding, because it's finally not painful. So that was phenomenal, and that took me like 6 weeks to figure out. So I endured for a long time, for 6 weeks. Don't be like me. Go and see a lactation consultant as soon as possible. A nutritionist, this should go without saying. Make sure you keep yourself alive and in good quality, and don't try to heal your body super blindly. Get some helpful insight there. Okay, we're to the next section, to prep. First of all, quality foods. This goes without saying. This is definitely a pre-postpartum activity. This is not the time to be eating junk. And I say that as someone who spent most of their postpartum eating junk and suffered the consequences for it, especially if you're breastfeeding, because that nutrition goes to your baby or lack thereof. And it will cause you to suffer. It'll lengthen your recovery time. It'll take a long time to bounce back because of it. Sometimes, and this is a confession, sometimes I would have just a bag of honey soy chicken chips as a meal, because I was just like, I can't be bothered getting up and making a meal, so I'm just going to eat this bag of honey soy chicken chips. Bad. Don't do that. I know food is tough during this time, but please, 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 just strive a little bit more just to have some good quality food as your main basis. Another side note, I would also make sure that they're kind of in one portion sizes. So it does take up a bit more space having it in a container, but it makes it so much easier when you can just throw it in the microwave and zap it for that much longer. Quality snacks, as I said above, good quality food and easily accessible. Think your nuts, your fruits, your teas. Just make sure that they're safe for breastfeeding or postpartum. Make sure that they're easy to access, and make sure that there's stuff that you'll actually eat as well. Don't set this new expectation that suddenly you're going to eat peanuts when you've hated peanuts for your entire life. Just be aware of that. And quality expectations. You're already doing great by watching this video. I would definitely have some open communication with your friends, your family, what you're doing for early postpartum. Just be aware that that may change as well. My postpartum, I was like, oh yeah, it's just going to be ours, da, 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 da. And then afterward, Oh, and I was like, no visitors to the, like, we'll be fine, da-da-da. And then afterward, I was like, I want to see everyone so I can distract myself from what's going on. And I need as much help as, like, beyond physically possible. So please help out. So yeah, definitely be aware of the fact that things may change. I would search up postpartum day in the life kind of videos, but I would also be heavily careful because these are very curated videos. These are very, yes, even the ones that are realistic are still a world's difference of what it's actually like with the emotions, the physicality, and so much more. And finally, to battle. There is a lot of things that you can't control in birth, in postpartum, but the things that you can control, we want to bring back into your control and take accountability for. For example, you can't control some of the complications that may come up in your birth, how long you have to potentially stay at the hospital, what state you may return home in. You could return with a baby, without a baby, with a baby who has lots of needs. There's certain things that you can't control, but there are certain things that you can. Setting yourself up for great birth support, stuff like that. And you can do the same with postpartum as well. For example, sleep. Look, I'm going to be honest. I know it's tempting as soon as the baby goes down to finally look at your partner and be like, oh, you're an actual human too. My husband and I were prolific with this. Baby would go down like 7 o'clock or something like that. And we would look at each other and we're like, oh, what do we do now? We've got all this free time. We can like da-da-da-da. And we would watch like 4 or 5 episodes of House. And then baby would wake up at 11:30, and we would look at each other like, what did we just do? Because often the first kind of sleep period is the best quality for baby and stuff like that. I know it's tempting. I hate the phrase sleep when the baby sleeps, but seriously, it would be better for you to go down early and get up early rather than just staying up late so much like my husband and I did. So that's something that I'm definitely going to try and change in the future. Nutrition and hydration, these things are within your control. Focus on quality and quantity. Physical recovery, start with limited movement. Make sure you get your sun in, and then make sure you see right experts or seek quality advice in this area. Internal expectations. Be very, very gentle with yourself. To be honest, my bare minimum for a good day was that my bed got made and I was on top of like a made bed. That was, we are off to the races. Got a shower in, A+. Amazing. Ate 3 meals. I'm pretty much an Olympian. There you go. Moved off the bed. Nobel Prize coming right in. Be very gentle with yourself in this season. It's a tough time. You're healing from a very hectic experience. I'm really proud of you for doing everything that you are. And recruiting. While you can't control the response of people, you definitely can control the hand that extends. Please don't feel offended or lonely if people are not coming out to help you whom you haven't invited. A lot of the times people don't know how to care for others in postpartum. It's a really unfortunately lost art, even sometimes among other mothers. And especially if you are the first person in your friends group to have a baby, people just don't know how to care for you. And you can do this in a multitude of ways. You can chat with people and be like, hey, would you be able to bring this? Da, 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 da. Or you can make social media posts about it, or there are different ways depending on how you communicate best. But please don't feel offended if people aren't coming because you haven't invited them to. Just be aware of that. Anyway, that's a lot. I hope it's given you a lot of confidence in what you're going to do, how you're going to survive, and how not only just survive, but thrive. If this content has been helpful for you, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Did I miss anything? I'm sure there's lots of things that I could include about baby and da-da-da-da, but I just wanted something more so for the mums, and especially the first-time mums. Hoping that your healing recovery is phenomenal. Let me know how it goes. Anyway, grace and peace from our Lord and Saviour, and I'll see you tomorrow.